Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow. 800 years ago, the gates of death were broken by the Emperor Immortal. The 5 key bearers, however, had already unlocked them and walked right through. It is in Uduasha city they dwell. Now, the ghost field breathes next to our reality, lit by the eternal flame of the well of Udu. It is a second skin, a place where thought and will struggle against gravity and light. In other places, the dead congregate in the ghost field, but in Uduasha, the well city, the hell city, they fall straight into the flames. See its glittering districts: Kshitijpur, where the rich plot to buy the horizon; Bunda West, where the refugees of 2 different nations flock; and Pasarhandu, the vertical maze of market and murder. And here is Udepat, where the ceaseless temple resides. Its inhabitants, a family, a snake, and a god. The temple has stood since before the gods of this world were forgotten. Watch as it turns the wheels of revolution. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about people who take risks so they can survive against the odds. Well, hi. Welcome back to Desperate Attune and our current campaign of Blades in the Dark, called A Candle Ablaze, set in the city of Uduasha. I'm Tree, or Soumithri. I'm your GM, and I will be running this game for you today.
My name is Emma. I am playing Joan, a retired ghost fighter, and I use she/her pronouns.
Hi, I'm Klow. In real life, my name is Zoheb, and I'm a he/him. And I'm playing Mira's Chokroborty, the crew's leech, who is an engineer turned cult leader.
I'm Prince, he, him. I play Vickers, a roof baller and Miras's wife.
I'm Soap. I play Abbas, the religious scholar, and Pain in Miraz's side. And my pronouns are he and him.
Oh, I actually forgot my pronouns, which are all of them. I really don't care.
Hi everyone, this is Prince with a recap of last week's episode. In the previous episode of A Candle Ablaze, we saw the temple congregate at breakfast to discuss the way forward. We met Zadjidan, the former head priest of the Ceaseless Temple, and we learned a little more about the Skovlander refugees. And when we left off, the whole crew was just on their way to talk with a giant snake that lives in our basement. It seems His Majesty is not altogether pleased with the performance of Uncle Abbas and his unwillingness to take part in revolution.
So Miraz, how are you looking for the snake? Is there some process? Are you just wandering? Do you summon it? What is going on?
I would go to the ritual sanctum, the heart of the temple.
Okay.
This is not the public altar. This is the locked off part, or at least the lock. Aside from all the parts that we have no access to ourselves, which we're excavating, of course.
Yeah.
So I go there. Do we have an idea for what this place looks like? I'm imagining kind of like a sort of like stepwell.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Well, not, but like nowhere near that deep, really. It used to be full of water. There's. Okay, no, let me reconsider. So it's a stepwell, and it goes down there's the there's the well, and so there's the stairs. You go down for a while, and then it seems to kind of just break off. There's been some sort of some sort of natural disaster or something, and the bottom of it is broken off. But instead of peering down into a hole that leads to the city itself underneath, what we see is a hole that seems to lead to nothing. Suddenly you walk down and there's just void.
I think.
And everyone is really, really well instructed to not try to just walk down into the void.
Yes.
Don't do that.
No. There is a legend that, in fact, not at the bottom of the void, but if you look into it and you are blessed or you are very lucky, you will see like the embers of a dancing flame. But maybe that's just like some crossover from the well legend and your legend, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to stay at the lip of this step well,
Mhm.
and I'm going to stare down into the abyss.
Mhm.
And usually the idea is that you sit there and you look at it until the snake's like, yeah, okay, I'm bored. I'll come up and talk to you.
Yeah. And I think surprisingly, it takes almost no time at all. I think the snake comes up, like you look down, maybe a moment passes, and you hear a hiss, and it's not like the snake emerges from the darkness. It is like the darkness itself becomes the snake, as if it's folding into a slithering, serpentine, scaly figure. And the only thing that differentiates it from the void is the slight sheen of scales, reflecting a light that does not exist. There is no light that should be hitting those scales, and yet it does, right? And you hear again its voice in your head, because it does not speak using its mouth, and it says, "Has my head priest finally come to visit?"
Yes, I have. He was about to say, Your Majesty, but then he stops himself in the nick of time. And then he remembers how to address it and says, Yes, I have come. Actually, no. What do we think the proper term of address for this is?
I think the proper term of address is Eternal One. That's my vote.
All
Yes.
right. Okay, so yeah. Miraz remembers that as he kind of like visibly stumbles and falls a few times as like what to say, and it probably just looks at him judgmentally. And then he just looks up and says, I have come, Eternal One. I've come. As you know, there's no point hiding it from you, yes. I am a reluctant servant. I was not trained for this. I do not wish to let you down. I do not wish to let the family down, but I am learning. And I suppose I have avoided you because of that reason. It makes it all too real. But you must know all this. You've known me all my life, have you not? And you have chosen me, though I do not know why.
Oh, Miraz, I choose those whom I know are ready. And they do not realize they are ready sometimes for decades. But I do not make mistakes. And I have chosen you because you, out of everybody of whom I could have chosen, exemplifies what this temple is about. You look forward. You are growing. In you is the revolution towards perfection. Do you doubt that?
I think as Miraz is complimented by the snake, that he can't help but kind of smile a little bit and like feel good. It's like, okay, yeah, I thought this, I'm talking to a snake, an avatar of a god, a giant snake that emerged from a dark hole in the ground. But it's right. I am a forward-thinking, rational human being. This is great. And then he says the word revolution, and then there's a kind of frown of like, I don't want to, I don't want to go that far, right? And then he says, I suppose is this why you did not choose my uncle Abbas? Do you find him inadequate in some way?
Oh, Abbas. Did you know that the last time Abbas committed what he regards to be a sin against this temple was 35 years ago? 35 years of nothing but hewing to every rule.
I do know this. He goes on about it all the time, every time I make a mistake.
Indeed. Tell me, Miraz, how can Abbas help lead us towards the future when he is so careful, so particular, so meticulous, perfect. If he's already perfect, then he has nothing left to strive for, does he?
Well, I would not call him perfect.
Yes, and neither would I.
Can this be the point where we
Yeah,
enter
I think
the
this
scene?
is a good
Yes.
point for you to enter the scene.
So did Joan come along? Did we like catch her in the corridors and pull her with us? Do you think?
Yes, she is like something after the like very brisk walk of the two of you, going like, well, I think that actually Miras was talking to His Majesty already. Should we not let him have that moment?
And then I think Vickers just barges in and goes, "Oh, Miras, excellent. There you are. Oh, I needed to have words with you too," she says, looking up at the snake.
Have you
think
met it before?
I don't think I have. And I also think that this is a character moment for Vickers where she doesn't even flinch. Like, people have told her there's a big snake and she's just accepting it. There's just...
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a snake. It's big. Checks out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm planning on picking up Iron Will, FYI. So, like,
Yes, very good.
Vickers is not easily phased.
Yes.
I think Abbas burst in also kind of like indignantly, but upon actually seeing the avatar of the god that he does genuinely worship, he's a bit like, "What am I doing?" But he's also here, and now he can't really
Yes.
back
Why are you
out.
all here?
Yes.
And I was like,
Well, it appears that Vickers takes charge. She just like steps down towards Miraz. She goes, "Well, it appears that there's been some sort of misunderstanding between Uncle Abbas and His Majesty, and I thought I should come down and settle it. Now I realize." Yes. What did you say?
It was like, don't call it, and then he kind of just stops himself because
Yeah, Vickers, who has no idea how to formally address this. Well, last night, after Uncle Abbas, quite commendably, I must say, brought back this ancient book and took care of it and read it, there was, I understand it, a complaint. And then she looks indignantly at everyone in the room.
And I think this is the moment. And I think, Joan, maybe this is one of the first times that you see the snake, not in the caring and protective way that it normally regards you, but like now much more dangerous, right? And much more like divine in a way. As Vickers is speaking, it says, "So is this your wife, Miraz?" Est is
yes.
singular. Tell me, young one, what complaint do you come bearing that Abbas himself cannot voice to me?
She says, like, "Well, I admit I don't know the specific details of the matter, but he claimed that you were wroth with him, upset, angry even, and I think that's quite unfair of you. He has been nothing but devoted to this temple for 35 years, and that's just since his last mistake." She says pointedly, being very proud of Abbas's track record.
Yeah. I think Vickers, as you look into this god, and you can tell me if you think this is too harsh, but I do think you'll have to roll to resist this because it's a literal, avatar of your god. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think like what it is.
I'm absolutely going to.
Okay, because what it is intent on doing is impressing upon you exactly what you are fucking with, right? So.
I think I will understand it to some degree, but I'm going to resist to handle it in my own way, and I roll a 4, so I take some stress. Okay.
And I think that.
And yes, I think what happens here, if I may say it, is that Vickers gets some understanding for the power and the hierarchy involved, and that she is in fact behaving inappropriately, and so she will be slightly embarrassed. And that's she's not afraid or anything, but she does realize she has committed a faux pas. And feels kind of bad about that.
And I think the resistance on the other side, what it accomplishes is that you are in fact willing to be defiant, which once more is more than Abbas is willing to do, right? And I think that the snake sees you and refuse to flinch and is in fact a bit amused that you don't feel any fear, but you feel embarrassment. Like, what a concept. And then in the way that like predator snakes can, it immediately shifts its gaze, right? Like it loses interest in you and locks on to Abbas and says, so do you have any grievances, Abbas? Or
Abbas like immediately gets into the the kneeling position of respect that says, not you're the eternal one, not a complaint as such, but I believe there may have been something of perhaps an administrative error.
Miraz, you are forced to recall that only moments ago the snake asked you whether you thought it made mistakes. And I think it looks down at Abbas and says, tell me, Abbas, this book that was brought to our temple, what do you think is important about it? What does it offer us in our journey?
Ooh, remind me what was in the book again?
So far as you could tell, like you couldn't decipher much of it, but it was both basically like an old text, like there was lore in it, right? About like what the cult used to be like and so on.
Okay, Abbas is gonna take some time to think of an answer that he thinks will be the correct one, the one that the snake wants to hear.
Yeah, this is of course, and I think in your own ways, the rest of you, as Abbas is thinking this, you can feel the snake's attention now on each of you, because Abbas is not being interesting, right? And like as we have also discussed, the snake is kind of like a big cat. And so while Abbas is kind of like hemming and hawing, it turns to each of you.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be a study rule or something to like remember something.
Oh no,
important.
yeah, it is. I'm just like kind of putting in some flavor. Sorry. It turns to each of you as if to say, you cannot like you've come here. You have appeared in the Sanctum Sanctorum, and you are asking something of the snake, and therefore you must also like be ready to have an answer, right? Abbas, I think this is unfortunately a desperate role. You are in the Sanctum Sanctorum of your god. You are accusing it of having made a mistake. And I think that to find something that you can do or you have found out, that's something you can do. You spent all night doing it, but I think there are potentially very dire consequences on the line.
I think in this moment, Joan's like connection that she has to the snake, in a more like friendly or amicable way, can help in the role. And I think what she does is she's going to like, as the serpent's attention is moving back and forth, she takes a small step forward and asks, Eternal One, the tone that was brought, it was brought with the idea that we would understand what it meant immediately, but the people that brought it to us pulled it from its original context and they knew very little. We would be very grateful for your wisdom if you have more insight into what it was. And I guess this like kind of appeasing, giving context is how she says.
That makes sense. And your vice is literally reading snakeskin, right? So I also imagine that perhaps what is happening is, and you can tell me if this is not true, but I feel like you maybe even like reaching out to stroke it, because that is the familiarity you have with it, which almost nobody else has, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Miraz's cousin Joan is touching your god very casually. This is not a problem. Abbas, you have an assist die, and I think study makes sense here.
Right. Good thing what just received.
Desperate standard.
Desperate, of course. Oh boy.
This would be a good roll not to get a 1 to 3 on.
Well, here goes nothing.
Very good.
Yes, there we go.
So mark your desperate XP.
Nice.
You got 6, right?
It was a 1, a 6, and a 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that with a 6, you can tell me what it is you think you found. Like one thing in that book that you think is undeniably important to your cult.
Ooh, okay. Okay. So it's got to be something I guess we haven't established. I guess we haven't actually established in this actual, like, in the 2 sessions what it is that the cult is actually about.
I think that we are about like changes
Yeah.
in time, right? Because we worship a time god.
Yeah, so it's like
something, but that's a very,
very
wide
wide.
theme that can be
yeah,
spun a
like
lot
so
of ways.
far it appears to be
Revolution.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I'm gonna lean into Albus's past as his sketchy past and say, and he'll say that this is about what's important to our cult is revolution, to take down the existing powers, because when society stratifies, it also stagnates. Right, so that's a big part of our cult, is to destroy hierarchies in society. We are snake worshipping anarchists.
excellent. Very good.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazing. I guess we now know why we're going to be going on a bunch of criminal heists.
I think, yeah, I think so do you say this, or is it like, are you relating an account to something that happened in the past, or is it more like philosophical, or like, what are you saying in this moment?
I think philosophical.
Can I suggest what specifically you find that's interesting? So
Sure.
just are you looking for any kind of information or like something specific sort of thing?
Well, the snake asks, like, what is it about? What do I think is important about the cult, right? So then I say, well, this is the thing that is important, and it's something like that Abbas, as I've said, has not actually been doing much,
Yeah.
right? He doesn't actually do much, practically speaking, right? So that could also lead into why the snake's upset. Like, Abbas, you've kind of lost your way.
Yeah, I mean, like you used to be doing this, and then like, yeah, it's been a long time since you have. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think like you remember this mantra sort of that's in the book, and it basically says that things age, things die, and new things are born that eat from the old thing's corpse, and this is the cycle of it. And when immortality is stasis, immortality is decay. And when you arrive at a society that does not change, then it simply covers the festering underneath. It's unattributed. It can be like multiple sorts of like interpretation. Usually people just read it as like some sort of like a statement about like revolution in general. But I think a lot of people also interpret it as something very targeted towards the immortal empire who rules the world.
Yes, of course, that makes sense. Yeah.
Abbas is gonna kill the emperor.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
as you recite this, the snake almost sighs in pleasure, right? It's like listening to a song that you have not heard for a long time that you used to be really fond of, right? And then the snake says, and tell me, Abbas, when was the last time you truly took part in such a revolution?
Abbas is gonna a little defensive. It's like but he knows the truth. Like he knows he doesn't do it. But it's defensive. Like I've been reading a lot, and I've been reading a lot, and I've been writing some of my thoughts down. I have some notes that I think if I find a good publisher, I'll be able to excite
Abbas.
Wait, I'm sorry, your eternal one, but I must also interrupt. What revolution was that? And was that a dig against the emperor himself in there? I just thought I'd be taking care of people's problems and looking after them and offering shelter as opposed to what Scotlander royalty was a stretch for me. But what is this, like us dedicated towards upsetting the balance of civilization itself.
I think the snake.
What?
I think Abbas is also giving Miraz a quizzical look because half of the Abbas's like lectures to Miraz have been about this, and is like, wait, you haven't been paying attention this whole time.
He's like about to have a full-on panic attack because, like, it's one thing for Abbas to keep going on about, like, yes, we must oust the foreigners. Yes, we must be like the cobra and throw away foreigners. That's what cobras do.
Yes.
And another thing for the god himself to be like, yes, revolution.
But I think, in fact, the snake turns to you, Miraz, and says, Abbas's journey is not yours. Yes, we have always been a cult of great change. But your father was a priest of great change, and his change was very different to yours. Miraz, I did not ask you to become the head priest so that you might lead Uduasha into some great revolution against the demon princes and the immortal emperor. Though, were you to do that, certainly you would be a luminary among the flamed serpent and its acolytes. But you cannot hew to a principle and refuse to act on it. And Abbas knows I mean exactly what I say. Do you not?
Vickers, I think, cuts in at this point. He says, now I understand perfectly. You're talking about sports.
Yeah.
And there's a long pause. And he goes, what? When someone throws you the ball, you run with it. Simplest principle imaginable.
And I think the snake says, and if you stand still with the ball for too long, someone punches you in the face and takes it away from you. Yes?
Right. Yes, exactly.
Miraz is just surprised the snake knows the
You would
principles
be
of rule.
surprised what the snake knows, I think.
Abbas needs to. Abbas is just gonna say, and of course, Miraz, sometimes you have to pass the ball. And then gestures towards himself.
And I think the snake at this point has become bored, right? And it coils once more, hisses, and says, I am glad to have met my high priest. I'm certainly glad to have met his beautiful bride. And I hope, Abbas, that you will heed my words rather than imagine that I have, what was it you said? Made some kind of clerical mistake. So it is true that it is the first spark of defiance I have seen from you in a very long time. I trust you will not attempt such a poor error again.
Of course not. Yeah, Abbas is going back to, like, when he's. I think Abbas is like usually trying to be very domineering, but there are these times when where it's his older brother or this, he kind of just becomes almost like a little boy, and he's looking down at the ground. He's like, yes, of course, Eternal One. I will take what you said to heart.
And I don't even think the snake responds. I think as you say this, it is not slithering back into the void, right? Like, in fact, there is a passageway in a part of the step world that was not there before and will not be there in a second, right? It slithers in, and what was stone, which became void, once more becomes stone. And you know that, like, your audience is unearned.
Miraz kind of looks at the retreating form of the snake, kind of blinks, turns to the others and says, well, revolution, huh? And then he looks at Joan. Cousin Joan informs me that we have Scotlander royalty under our roof at the moment. Is this the sort of revolution we're interested in?
Royalty? Vickers looks in surprise at Joan, like, is this true?
Yes, that is what we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, Abbas is. I think the wheels are turning. Like, Scotlander royalty in our temple.
Naturally, we must. And then he kind of looks at the stepwell to make sure the snake isn't there and listening. So naturally, we must avoid this as much as possible and wish them all the best for their future endeavors as we send them away somewhere safe.
Yes, Miraz, I'll be wishing them the best indeed. as the most senior member of this temple, I haven't really had a chance to talk to them one-on-one. I should go speak to them soon. And I think Abbas is gonna try to get the ball rolling here. Because I think after the conversation with the snake, and now the opportunity just presents itself.
Yeah, indeed.
All right, let's.
They remind me. They did not want to lead any sort of revolution.
They
No,
expressly
they do
were
not.
like,
Abbas has to
everybody
talk them
wants us to
into.
do this. We just want to hang out, please. So yeah.
Good. Well, we'll solve this. I think the last thing I want to add in this scene for Vickers is that she will turn to Miraz and take his hand and look still sort of awkward and be like, "Oh dear, I'm sorry. I let my temper get away with myself. I'm so sorry for embarrassing you in front of your superior. I hope you can forgive me."
No, it's fine. Do you feel well? And then he kind of like looks at you because, Abbas didn't feel very well last night.
What? Oh, I'm absolutely fine. I just, well, it just seemed to me an injustice, that is all. I never could stand such things.
Yes, I'm surprised it knows about Roofball.
Quite right. That hadn't even occurred to Vickers.
The implications are staggering. Yeah. So I guess what next scene is Abbas, or do we kind of want to skip? No, I think we have to convince them to get involved.
Yeah, 100%. You'll have to
Yeah, it has to
convince
be
them to get involved in literally anything. Yeah. Possibly also Joan.
Yeah. And I think Miraz is kind of like, what? Oh, I mean, okay, sure, I guess, in this situation, so he doesn't need to be convinced.
Very good.
I think Joan is somewhat swayed by the conversation that we just had with the snake. And before she will leave the stepwell, she just like gaze down into the void and mumble an opportunity for growth. So is this what you meant? And I guess there's no response, and she just like tends to follow the rest.
I just realized. So it doesn't really make sense for Miraz to be like, okay, let's lead this Covenant revolution. So I think what he's going to do, and if this is okay with everyone else, that he's going to go off and talk to Morosim about getting the hive to get them removed. And I think this will be very funny if he has his if the hive shows up while we're trying to do something else.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. We will invoke. They are our rivals or enemies, so they can absolutely interfere in the score. And I'm glad that you are making this happen.
Yes, excellent. So I'm going to get our rivals involved.
And Abbas is going to try to persuade them. Should that be a scene of Abbas persuading the refugees?
I think so, because it's not that Abbas is like I guess Abbas's head space is like, okay, he's just been told about like, by the snake that, okay, he's kind of lost his way, and now like he knows what he has to do, right? In his mind, he's like, yeah, like he just doesn't know why he stopped, and now I guess maybe he's not gonna like fully like convince them in a Machiavellian kind of way, like, oh, you should do my bidding, but more of a conversation with someone who might know where he's coming from, right? So what are the Scotlanders doing? Where are they?
I think the Scotlanders are, in fact, at the moment having a fairly genial conversation with Zajidan, because Zajidan has gone to find them, and upon discovering that they are bathing, will wait for them to finish bathing, invite them to breakfast, and then feed them a very traditional Uduwasha breakfast, which is probably like some kind of chapati and like a chickpea curry.
Very good.
So they are, they're from Scotland. I don't think that like they have necessarily eaten this before. They are definitely enjoying it. So that's where you find them.
All right, so Abbas comes in. He sees them enjoying his traditional Uduashan food. He's very pleased to see that. Then he just tells Daijanja. Well, yeah, you're over here. Do you mind if I borrow our guests for like a few minutes?
Oh, certainly, not at all.
Something I need to
Oh,
discuss
sorry,
with
this
them.
is Ajit. Yeah, he says, no, of course not. In any case, I should probably get on with my day. As if he's got a day to be getting on with. He really doesn't. So he kind of stands up, makes a big show of like, rolling his shoulders, and then walks into the temple, probably to like hang out. He's retired. He doesn't have any responsibilities.
Yeah, Buzz just takes a seat across from the table to the two Scotlanders, and he says, so, my niece Joan tells me something very interesting about you two. She says that you are Scotland royalty, not loyalty. Such a pleasure to have your majesties here with us.
I think Johannes says, oh, we're not majesties of anything, okay? We are, I don't know, mother was the first cousin to the king 3 generations ago or something. I can't even remember what it was now. They've killed off all of the main branch members, and they just want to get the rest of us before we... I don't even know what they think we're going to do. It's not like we're going to like stand up and demand that we be reinstated as monarchs. All we want to do is get away from that.
But does it not anger you to know that Akaros will come after you even when you pose no threat to them?
That's why we're here. In Uduasha, the Akarosi don't have power. That's what everybody says, and pretty obvious when you see the city. We just want to live a quiet life. Maybe I could learn to make pots or something. I don't know. As if like this is it's probably the first time they are thinking about getting a job in any serious way. But yeah, they could be a potter.
I think Abbas will just give them a wry smile and say that Akaros has power everywhere. There is no running from them. Wherever you go, whatever end of the world, they will find you, or they will find your children. Because as every tyrant fears the worst, every tyrant will fear change, and you represent that. The immortal emperor will chase you wherever you go. The only way is to fight back. This is something I used to know deep in once upon a time, but now that feeling left me. But I think that feeling is coming back again. We can't wait for things to get better. We can't wait for someone else to fight our fights.
Okay, I think this is a role because I don't think this is the first time they have heard a speech like this, and they are sick and tired of it.
Sorry,
I think
what
it
effect
has.
does
I
it
think
have?
you're in a risky position because I think the risk here is you lose this opportunity, not the rest of the crew, but they will like not engage with Abbas on this. And I think you're currently at limited effect, which is you could convince them that maybe this is true, but I don't think you can convince them that because this is true, they should stop running, as the fiction is now.
I think it also makes sense from Abbas's point of view, where he's not like really trying to convince them, he's almost trying to convince himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I want to assist here in a pretty funny way. I don't think I'm present in the scene, but I think that I had my roofball team here and we were preparing for a match yesterday when these people arrive. And so I think in the speech, like just before the scene, or maybe during it, it's been drifting in from outside. Like, well, boys and girls, it is time to seize our destiny. Victory!
Yes.
Victory above all! We will not run away. We will not be afraid.
Yeah, very good.
So I will be giving a rousing speech to my team outside about how surrender is not an option.
It doesn't help that like your very Akarosi accent makes it clear that like you are here and present.
Yes. Exactly. So I think I'm assisting. I'm giving you bonus dice. I don't think I can give more effect, but I can drive home that Akaros does not give up. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can always push yourself for effect or trade position for effect. Both these things are permitted.
I think I'm good, like just because of the fiction of like what Abbas is doing here. Like
it makes sense to have limited effect now and work on it later.
Yeah, if Abbas was really trying to like explicitly convince them, then I would have done something. But he's all right.
That's a four. Yeah. So I think that I think until now it's been Johannes who's been speaking, right? And now Catherine lays a hand on Johannes's arm and looks at you, and she speaks in a much more kind of soft and quiet voice, right? And she says, "You're right. We will never escape the shadow of the Empire. But here, that shadow is so much further away. Can't you understand why we might just want to live in peace? Yes, maybe they will come find us. Maybe my children will become targets, but wouldn't it be nice for me to have the chance to fall in love with someone and have children? This is not a future that we were permitted in Scotland." And I think like she's not rude enough to like stand up and leave, but you can see in her face that like she's done talking about this. And Johannes kind of like notices her distress and looks at you and like kind of just mouths, "What the fuck, man?" Right? Like, and they can't really be more rude, right? You are literally the proprietor and the person who said we should take them in and so on. But like,
Yeah, I think Abbas is going to concede the point. He says, I know, I'm not going to lie to you. I know what lies down the path that I'm talking about. It is not an easy path, and I do not blame you for walking away from it. I walked away from it myself, but maybe what's right for me is not right for everyone else. I'll leave you to it. Please enjoy your breakfast.
I have an idea for what Vickers wants to do, but I don't think it has to be a scene. I just think that Vickers wants to find out that this is what they want. Like, they want to find a chance to have a family and start a future, something she would be extremely sympathetic to. Obviously, I'm going to pursue the angle of giving them a good future, same as Miraz's, except I'm going to go to the Scotland refugees. Because obviously they should be allowed to be with their people.
Oh god.
And I think this is what the sort of score we're setting up, because we have a Skovlander faction in the city.
And
it's pretty big.
in fact, is connected to them.
Exactly, yeah. So I think after all, it makes sense for them to find a home with them. So I think, does it make sense for Vickers and Joan to work together on this? Do you think Joan would be receptive to such an idea?
I think now, after the conversation with the snake, she would be.
Yeah, so I don't want to bog us down with like more scenes of just conversation. But I think Vickers will like present this plan to Joan that like we should get in touch with your contact after all, and we should give these people like, a safe harbor with their people. And then I think we will have to set up some sort of score to arrange that, however that will look, in which the Hive will interfere.
And we will probably see the consequences of that conversation in the score, so we don't need to see that right now. I think in that case, let's talk about what kind of score we're thinking here. It seems to me that it's like a social score, right? Like you're going to go and talk to some people, convince them to do something that maybe they don't really want to be doing.
Yeah, the person we're talking to is Joan's rival, right? So it automatically has stakes for that reason.
Correct.
So I think we're having a score with Joan's rival to convince them to take these people in.
Yeah.
And then the Hive is interfering.
So I came up with this idea of there already being some sort of claimant to the throne, sort of, amongst the refugees. Not the throne of Scotland as such, but like,
Oh well, perfect. We should make contact with her. She'll take these people in. They're related.
Indeed.
We should care for her relatives. We will convince her that familial loyalty wins out, obviously. Like, if she is the local Scotland royal and she has a household, then she has a duty to take care of her cousins. It's what we did.
That is what you did.
That's much better.
Very good. Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. Except this one was chosen by some sort of forgotten god in a hole. But we'll see. Yeah.
What's her name?
Let's see. Her name is Her Royal Highness Freya.
Freya. Okay, cool. So we go to Joan's rival. We ask Joan's rival to set us up a meeting with Freya, and then we convince Freya that she has an obligation to take care of her relatives.
If we can find Freya. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, that too.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe we'll have to find her as part of the score. Either
Yeah.
way, I
Yes.
think, and I think this is Vickers very much in character, thinking that it's an outrage for these poor people to be abandoned by their family. They have family in town. What do you mean? Obviously, this must happen now.
Excellent.
Yeah, this makes
Yes,
sense.
very good.
Uh-huh.
Okay, in that case, let's actually talk about engagement. I think we have enough here, unless you want to do some gather info.
So I did want to talk to
Yes.
Morosim. We don't have to have the scene because we have had a lot of those
Yeah.
conversations. But I don't know. I do want to know like how
Okay,
that went.
I think let's make that like a fortune roll. Let's treat it somewhat like a gather info, right? Like you can find out what kinds of things he can offer you and what he's willing to not just do but take as payment and so on, right?
Okay. So here's how I think
Mhm.
it's gonna go. So quick scene, right? So I think I'm at some sort of local
Mhm.
bar where I meet Morosim, and Vickers can be there as well because Vickers now has this idea, right? Of where exactly to kind of like try to put what are the names? Johannes
Catherine.
and
Catherine.
Yeah. So, and I'll look at Morosim and say, right. So we have two people. I'll try to be discreet about them. It's a little bit hush hush. But we have two people who very badly need to meet. Supposedly there's some sort of Skovlander person in the hospitality ghetto in Bundervast. Some sort of Skovland person who claims to be royalty. I hear that she's hiding out as well. She ought to, I suppose, right? Yes, but the two people that we have, they need to meet this person. In fact, they need to be smuggled over. As you are a discreet person representing a discreet organization, and he doesn't add that, so discreet that he doesn't even know what the organization's name is. Can you help us track down this queen, so-called Queen Freya, and then help us bring our two friends over to meet her? As few people knowing about it as possible.
Yeah, I think this is where you make the roll.
Yeah.
I think this is risky because he's in the shit with his boss, and this is the kind of thing that maybe the Hive could make a profit on and could get him out of the shit list. So like you can do this, but like I think it's risky standard.
Yeah, it's also probably a bad idea, but yeah.
Oh, 100%. But yeah.
My question is, what is the goal here? If this works, will we like deal with the Hive as a problem? No, right? What are we getting out of this action?
I think like if this goes well, I think the risk here is that if it doesn't go well or it's mixed, then the Hive is both a problem and a boon. But if it goes well, then actually the Hive helps us like actually transport them, locate Queen Freya and all that, all the legwork, right?
Okay, so you're potentially dealing with the problem you introduced in one roll.
Yes.
Then I will not assist you because I think it's funnier if it fails.
Excellent.
Yes, very good. What are you rolling?
Concert. Do you have a devil's bargain for me?
I think that it's entirely possible there is someone else in this bar who's also interested in Freya, and this person may overhear your.
I have another devil's bargain.
Oh,
if I may
yes,
suggest
please.
one. If players are allowed to suggest them, but I think it's fun to suggest them. I think that a very fun devil's bargain would be that Morisim's counteroffer is that, yes, absolutely. By the way, do you want to borrow some money? I've been tasked to lend some money to people. I heard about your father's illness. Maybe I could help with that?
Incredible.
And then you'll be in debt to the Hive.
Yes,
like medical debt to the Hive.
I think that's excellent. I'm going to do that.
Okay. The more you're in debt, the better it is for him, right? Let's say that, like, in fact, it is 2 coin, which is not a small amount of money whatsoever. It is a fair, like, it's enough money that, like, if someone looked at you and said, "Hey, do you want this amount of cash for free?" You'd be like, "Wow, that's a lot." So yeah, absolutely. Mark 2 coin. if you like.
Oh god.
And
So-
yeah.
So you will get 2 coin and owe like 4.
Well,
probably.
you know the miracles of
'Cause it's
compound
alive.
interest. It'll be worth
Yeah,
16
yeah.
coin by the end of the month, probably.
I got a 3. Excellent.
So I think what happens here is he looks at you and he says, "That's absolutely something that we can do. I will speak to my superior. His superior's name is
Be by her.
Heart.
The same
Yes.
person from Gully
Yes,
Gully Gully.
correct.
Mhm.
He says, "Yes, I will speak to V. I'll get all this figured out. Don't even worry about it. And just send me the details." And he is 100% lying, which is to say, he's going to tell V, and V is going to make a play on her own terms to make her own money.
Well, that just makes the score more interesting, so I will not resist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, as Morrison leaves and we kind of finish our drinks and we're heading back and say, Vickers, I think I'm getting the hang of this skullduggery business.
Yes. Vickers
I mean,
says,
and then I kind of like jangle my coins, like
uh-huh.
made quite a tidy profit out of it as well.
Yeah, I think Vickers will look. We're very happy with this and have little understanding of problems, and we can wrap this.
Very good. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Would anyone else like to do any gathering?
Fucking moron Mira says.
Yeah, sorry. Would anyone else like to do any gathering info?
No, I would like to get to the action, but if someone else wants to gather info, go ahead.
It doesn't seem like it. So let's run through the engagement questions. So you start with 1 die for sheer luck. Is this operation particularly bold or daring? Take +1 die. I would
Yes, it
say
is.
so.
I think it is. We're handling revolutionary royalty,
Yes.
so yes.
Is it overly complex or contingent on many factors? It does appear to be the case that it is, right? Because there's the Hive,
Yes.
there's
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
several different factions in the revolutionaries. Yeah.
We want to hand these people over to someone who doesn't want to be
Yes.
found.
Yes.
Does the plan's detail expose the vulnerability of the target or hit them where they are weakest? Given that the target here are the revolutionaries,
Not at all.
no. And in fact, the answer to the next question,
No.
is the target strongest against this approach, or do they have particular defenses or special preparations? They absolutely do. They don't want to be found. So you will
Yep.
lose the die.
0
You're
dice so
currently at
far.
0, yes. Can any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight for this operation?
Did that count as 8?
No. No.
No, I don't think.
In fact, it's going to come up in a sec, but yeah, it did not count as 8.
Oh yeah, I was about to say Jones' contact could, but Jones' contact
It's
is
a
a
rival.
rival.
Yeah, you're very lucky that you
Yeah.
can't lose more than 1 die for enemies or rivals interfering, because both the Hive and Jones' rival are involved.
We're currently at -1.
Mm-hmm. I don't think any of my contacts make any sort of sense. No, I don't want to bring them in yet.
My other contact in the Tardal Ajanib is also a rival. So
Mhm.
And the last question, are there any other elements you want to consider? Unfortunately,
I want to propose one. I don't know if this is like legit or not, but we have a god of time and randomness, I suppose, to an extent, and all that. And we're doing exactly what is our god's precepts and principles. Is there any sort of divine luck that follows us around?
I don't think that you have earned that.
Because this would set a precedent.
Yeah.
I think we should take a
Okay.
special ability for that
Yeah.
down the line.
Yeah.
But
Excellent.
I don't think
All right.
like it's a cool idea, but we don't have anything on our sheet for it yet.
Yeah.
So I think it can be a special ability of some sort.
Yeah, okay. We have to prove ourselves to the god as well.
Exactly. If
Yeah,
you succeeded this,
exactly.
you can start chipping away at that, right? But you haven't got there yet.
So we
Zero
have 0
dice.
dice. Are we doing the engagement roll and then taking a quick
Yes,
break?
please.
Okay.
Who would like to roll? It seems like either Abbas or Miraz. Actually, or Joan.
Yes, I think it makes sense to have Joan roll.
Yeah.
But
In that case, I shall.
Excellent.
0 dice.
0 dice.
Good.
Or 2 dice, take the lowest.
You rolled
We
a
got a
5,
one.
but you will keep
We
the
got a
1.
1.
Yes. So you will start in a desperate position. Meet back in 5 minutes while I think about all the things that can go wrong. And so blows out our brief candle. I named the disciples of the ceaseless temple thus, with both their false names and true. Soumithri, called Tree as the GM. Zoheb, called Klow as Miraz. Prince as Vickers. Emma as Joan. Aadiyat, called Soap as Abbas. Blades in the Dark and the original inspiration for Udo Asha by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions. Iruvian playbooks by Johnstone Metzger. Jalandhar intro music by Kevin MacLeod. Outro music in Keeravani Ragam by U. Srinivas. Follow us at Desperate Attune on Twitter or email us at desperateattune@gmail.com. Support us at ko-fi.com/desperateattune.